What is up, my favorite people? I have returned from West Virginia, the land of beautiful scenery, lots of stray animals, and also, most importantly, no Wi-Fi, which is why I haven't been uploading in a little bit. Not that you, not that you couldn't live without me for a week. If you couldn't, I'm really sorry. But that was okay. So I wanted to tell you guys about this experience. This isn't scripted or anything. This is just going to be me telling you about my experience. So I'm a member of a Unitarian Universalist church, even though I'm not really like religious, but that's kind of one of those hippy dippy churches where you don't really talk about God. And every year we have a youth group called Why Are You You that every year, I feel like I'm at a weird angle here. That every year we go to McDowell County, West Virginia, which is like, and we go to War, which is the southernmost town. And we stay with this nonprofit called Big Creek People in Action. And they do, like, we stay at this building. It used to be a school, I think, like a middle school or something. Can you stop? Sorry, my phone's plugged in right now. And that is their family support center. So they have they do a lot of services because West Virginia, and especially McDowell County, is really, really poor. And I'm not saying that they're all homeless and none of them have jobs, because the employment rate is actually really high. But they're definitely in need of, because the economy down there, it used to be a coal mining town. West Virginia as a whole used to be a coal mining town, and now obviously that the need for coal has kind of stagnated, and so their economy is bust. You can look in this downtown area of War, you can go to Jaeger, there's really just nothing there. There's buildings, there's old hotels where shops used to be, and there's just nothing. It's all dead. But there's people. The people are still there, and a lot of the people there were or are coal miners still. We're actually there's actually 2 or 3 mines, I think, within a couple mile radius of the building. So we do a little service trip, and with Big Creek People in Action, we work with a couple of their employees, Scotty and Buster, and we split up half and half, basically, randomly, and we go work on a site with them at some house, and we do repairs. For Buster's site, we were actually working on this house up by, it's actually not up by anything. It's a little bit in town, and then a little bit out of town. They bought for $15,000. Ridiculous. But I kind of see why, because it's in total disrepair. But also, I mean, come on, $15,000 for a house. Don't get me fantasizing. And so we were working on, it's the whole thing was in complete disrepair, basically. No one had been living there for years. So it mainly what I was working on was this bathroom in the house, which when I got there had no ceiling and no drywall, and barely, we had to take out all this old insulation from the ceiling, which I actually got some fiberglass in my eye, which was a really fun experience, as you can imagine. And we just work for about 8 hours a day. We leave home at around 8:45, and we come back at 4, and then we make dinner. We usually have a couple people, 2 usually cooking, and then there's other people on cleaning duty. And I went last year as well, but this year we were joined by some of the older teens, the alumni, who 2 of which were in college, but one of them was actually my sister, who is technically not old enough to be an alumni, and she's not really an alum, but she isn't really involved with the younger teens like the rest of us. And so she went and they did all their stuff together in their little group of three. Yeah, their little group of 3. And We work for about 8 hours a day. Honestly, I wouldn't really say the labor is very demanding. Obviously, you're doing some physical stuff like using tools and lifting wood or whatever, and you know whatnot. But and cutting wood, cutting metal. But I don't find it to be too physically demanding. The worst part about it is probably the heat. As you can imagine, in the southernmost point of West Virginia, which is a little while south from here. Technically, they're in the mountains, so they're really not supposed to have that hot of a climate, but it's been getting really, really hot. It was really hot last year, it was really hot this year, except last year we got rained on quite a bit, which helped a little. I really enjoy that pilgrimage because I know there are things I can do. Like, I often get like really overwhelmed by the fact that there's so much out there. There's so many people out there that need help, and that their communities are, dying out, and that they have like nothing, and they just need that external help. And I can't help everyone, but I can do what's within my control, and I can go and help these people. Obviously, I'm not saying like I changed their lives or anything by giving them a new ceiling in their bathroom or taking out their shower and putting in a new one, but it's my little way of giving back, because I live in like the suburbs, so there's not a whole lot of stuff I can do directly around here, especially at my age when I can't really get any volunteer positions except maybe at Grassroots. Although I haven't tried, I don't know if they actually take volunteers that are not adults. So that's kind of my avenue to helping people who need it. Instead of getting all overwhelmed that I can't help everyone, at least I can help someone. At least I can do this one small thing for them. I'm not going to change their lives, I'm not going to pull them out of poverty, but I can help them with this one thing that's within my control. And that, I try really hard, to not have a savior complex or whatever, like, oh, these people need me, because they don't need me. And honestly, I imagine a lot of them are pretty ashamed to have to ask for help, especially from people who come from a rich place like I do. But, we have to sort of put our pride to the side and, learn to accept help when we know we need it, because if you don't accept help, there's really just going to be not a whole lot anyone can do for you, and not a whole lot you can do for you. So I think it's a really great experience. Honestly, if you're ever able to take a service trip like that, or to go and help someone in need, I would recommend it 100%. It makes you feel a little bit better about yourself. I think I spent a lot of my time, I spent the entire rest of the summer basically, aside from the trip to New Mexico that I went on, I've just been sitting in my bed doing nothing, but at least I can say I did something. I help people. And that's, that's good. It's nice to help people. Sorry, my face is like totally shadowed right now by my hair. I'm getting a haircut tomorrow. Sorry, I know it's bad. But, it's nice to be able to just do even the slightest amount of giving back, because there's so many people who need help. And if I can help just these people, that makes a couple less people who need help, So also they have like a little, across the street from the building we're staying at, they have a little free clothes store. Like, people just give their donations. You can just walk in there, take anything, it's all free. There's also a food pantry in that building, I think. And it's really just like people help each other out, and that really like warms my heart or whatever, because I feel like people tend to be really divided a lot of the time, especially people who are all fighting for their lives, but it's more sustainable to help each other instead of just isolating yourself and pulling yourself up by your bootstraps. If you have the ability to help other people, do it by all means, in any way you can. Even if you're not doing a whole lot, you're doing something. It's about you making an effort to help others, because there are always going to be people who need help. The world is never going to be perfect. I don't think war is ever going to be done. Like, I don't think they're ever going to not have people there anymore. I don't think they're ever going to not need us to come anymore. Um, but it's a continual process. You know, there's not a whole lot to be done about the economy there because, like I said, the need for coal is just kind of expired right now. Because everything is done with fossil fuels and solar energy, and people just don't really use coal anymore. So it's, and that's kind of all they have. I mean, it's like up in the Appalachian Mountains, and it is Appalachia, by the way. If you say Appalachia, you're a northerner. You're a Yank, and I'm also a Yank, but I know how to say it. It's Appalachia. Up in the Appalachian Mountains, there's like really nothing. Like, it's uninhabitable basically, to a point where there's no way to get any other resources. Coal from the side of the mountains is like that's their only resource. Like, you can't grow food in that climate because you're in the mountains. You can't, like, it's hard to get anything imported or exported, which makes food costs and grocery costs kind of high. And I mean, there's just like, to live there, you have to take advantage of the one resource that they do have. And there's still always, like, there's always going to be more coal in the mountains. They're always going to be doing that. Even as the need for it and the demand wanes, the supply is still very steady. So, I mean, there's not, like, you're never going to fix everything, but you can just help people. You don't have to help the whole town. You don't have to help the town. Like, I didn't go there to fix war. I went there to help the people that live there, because, they're people. And in a place like that, obviously our political ideologies are really different than me, someone who lives in central Maryland, and them who live in rural Appalachia. That we have very differing political views, and also they're very Christian there. And so you have to learn to put that aside. I mean, first of all, just don't talk about it, don't bring it up, because it's just going to cause unnecessary conflict. But also, being a patriot and loving, like, I love this country, I love America. Being a patriot means that never is everyone going to agree on the same policies. That's the point of democracy. But they are all people. They're not Republicans. They're not Democrats. They're not conservatives. They're not liberals. They're people. They're trying just as hard to get by as, the next guy. So you have to be able to put that aside and not, because I can't say I don't hold a little resentment for these people for voting against their own interest, because not a lot of them, but quite a few of them are on, like, SNAP and Medicaid and Medicare, which is getting, which is in jeopardy right now. Oh, I dropped something. And I can't say I don't hold a little resentment for that, but I honestly look at them with pity more than I do with hate. Not that I think they're, like, poor and helpless, but just that I think they genuinely think that voting that way is gonna improve their lives, and there's really no arguing with them on that front, because, you just can't change people's minds about that. Usually I find it pointless to argue about politics with someone who's on a different, of a different persuasion than you. So, but, whether or not these people understand the gravity of their decision to vote that way or not is not up to me. As a wise man once said, fuck around and find out. So, like, I mean, they're going to face the consequences whether they think they voted for it or not, or whether they like it or not. And obviously not every West Virginian voted for Trump. Just like not every American voted for Trump, but he's still president, because that's just how democracy works. But I understand that you have to know the limit at which you can try to persuade these people, but at the end of the day, you have to accept that they're not budging. It would be really hard for someone to convince me to change my political ideology. I probably wouldn't budge either. So, that also applies to everyone else. That you have to see them less as Republicans and more as Americans, because I'm an American, and I believe that Americans should stick together, and should help each other and help everyone else. So, you know, blah, 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 all that cliche stuff. And they are, at the end of the day, they're still struggling. They're struggling just as much as poor people in a Democratic state might be, or in a blue state might be. So, at the end of the day, they're all Americans, and they're all in need of help. So why not help them? Anyway, that's my spiel. Thanks for coming to my, well, not my TED Talk. Thanks for coming to my C-SPAN segment, and I will play you a song. Sorry, also, if you like to see my hand when I'm turning on the video, my phone's is tilted the other way. Instead of this way, it's that way, because it's plugged in right now. This is Cow by Alex G, and I know it's not going to sound quite right, because, you know, they're supposed to be, like, layered guitarists here, but alas, I'm only one man. So, this is my musical offering.